over the weekend there's a Halo qualifier tournament, and I was looking at the chat, which you should always ignore Twitch chat for Pro League, because Pro League for Twitch chat is always like the dumbest people comment on Pro Twitch chat streams. And the constant comment was about, you know, controller. All the pro players are using controllers, and people are like, you shouldn't even use the controllers. Need to nerf emphasis. It's like all this shit. And it's like, first thing first, Halo is a console game before it's a PC game. That's the first thing about it. It's an Xbox game before it's a PC game. So everyone who plays Halo in a pro scene played Halo competitively on controller. So they're going to stick with what they know. Second thing is, this is more so like a general statement, not just a Halo thing. What input someone used doesn't actually fucking matter. It's a freaking excuse people use just to defend why they got beat in a gunfight. And we're gonna go into a little bit details when it comes to the conversation. First thing first, the thought process is for most people is advantages and disadvantages. There's an advantage for every input, not just controller, not just mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard has its own advantages, and controller has its own advantages. They also have their own drawbacks. So it's not like one is, you know, super strong and the other one's not. The reason why PC players complain so much about controllers is because they lost a gunfight. It's all about, I got beat, I need an excuse to why I got beat. And there's a reason why you don't see the best players in the world complain about inputs. You just don't. You don't see freaking, you know, Snipe down complaining about what inputs someone's using. You only see people freaking complain about inputs when they're not that good at the game. Good players don't look for excuses. Good players just play the fucking game. They'll mention if there's some lag and things like that, if there's something broken, things like that. But they won't be like, oh, I only lost because this person's on Xbox. I lost because this person's on PC. I lost because this person's on PS5. They don't complain about inputs or platforms. And not only that, everything about gaming has an advantage. Your monitor, the kind of monitor you have, is an advantage. If you have a monitor that has a better refresh rate than someone's monitor, you now have an advantage over another person because you have a better monitor than they do. If you have more frames than the person does, you have an advantage in frame rate than that other person. So if you're playing on freaking, let's say, PC, you have 240 frames, you're playing it's on PS4 or PS5 when you're at freaking 60 frames, you have a frame advantage. Your mouse is an advantage. Whether you're using a regular PC mouse or one of those $40 cheap mouses, or if you're using a Logitech G Pro wireless or a Razer Viper, each individual of those mouses is better than the previous mouse, means you have an advantage. So I'll use myself for example. I use a Razer Viper Ultimate for my gaming mouse. This mouse is really good. It's great for shooters. I have an advantage over someone who's not using this quality of a mouse in shooters. That's just how it is. And everyone else who owns a Viper Ultimate or who owns a G Pro wireless has an advantage, or people who have an inferior mouse than this brand of mouse. There's advantage. Your internet is an advantage. If you have better internet, you aren't uploading and downloading things at a better rate than someone who has bad internet. Advantage. Basically, everything involving gaming has advantages and disadvantages. Are you going to sit here and complain about, man, that man got a fucking Razer Naga, that's why I freaking lost? Are you going to sit and complain if that guy's wearing freaking a Logitech headset when I'm wearing Turtle Beaches, that's why he won that gunfight? You see how ridiculous that sounds? Because these are also an advantage. My Black Sharks are an advantage over someone who's using some freaking cheap earpieces they got from Walmart, or a cheap headset they got from freaking GameStop. These are an advantage. Everything in this field, be it streaming or freaking gaming, is an advantage. Even your microphone. If your microphone is better than someone's microphone, you're giving callouts better. You know, you're able to communicate better than someone who has a shit freaking microphone. Everything's an advantage. Everything has a disadvantage. And again, I'll say it, and I don't care how many people will get upset watching this part of the stream and be like, you're calling bad the game, fuck you. If you're sitting here bitching and moaning about they're on keyboard and mouse or they're on controller, you're not good. You're not as good at the game as you think you are. Because the best players in the world aren't complaining about inputs. There's a Destiny player, he plays in tournaments. He's considered one of the best players at Destiny. His name is Swalla. If you anyone who's like a diehard Destiny like player who pays attention to like YouTube, you know who Walla is. Walla plays on keyboard and mouse in a game that's dominated by controller. Walla is one of the best players in the world while playing a game that's dominated by controllers. He has friends who play on controller as well. He plays with them. He gets to controller lobbies, shits on them. My cousin plays on PC. He plays on my mouse and keyboard. In Destiny, he got console lobbies. He dominates. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't. If you're good at the game, you're going to win gunfights. Only lesser players complain about inputs. You know, I've been playing crossplay games for as long as crossplay has been like an actual thing. Be it Gears of War 5, Halo Infinite, you know, Apex, Battlefield, Call of Duty. I've been playing crossplay in all these games, but I also play games that don't have crossplay. I play on both PC and I play on console. I play shooters on both platforms. I have never sat there once and be like, you know what? I lost that fight because that guy's a controller. I never played a game on any of these crossplay games on my PC and was like, I lost because someone's on Xbox or lost on freaking PS5 or PS4. I never played a game on my Xbox and be like, I lost because that guy's on PC. I played games of Siege on Xbox before I got on PC, where I've played against cheaters because it's considered cheating to use keyboard and mouse on console. For Siege at least, not all games, but for Siege, it's considered to be cheating to use a keyboard and mouse on consoles. Never once in those situations I even report that person. Never once did I say they're cheating, and never once I complain going, that guy only killed me because he's a keyboard mouse. I always feel like anytime I get into a 1v1 gunfight, I have an equal chance of winning that fight as the person who's across from me. And if I lost it, I see how the fight's playing out. If I lost because of lag, I'll call it out. Yeah, that was lag. If I lost because I got team fired, I'll call it that I got team fired. But you'll never, on my streams, my YouTube videos, hear me complain about I died because this person's on PlayStation. I died because this person's on PC. I died because this person's on Xbox. I will never use a platform or an input as an excuse. Because that's what it is. It's an excuse. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, it's an excuse. There's a reason why the best players in the world don't freaking say those things, because they know it's an excuse. If you feel like keyboard and mouse is so much better than console, switch to keyboard and mouse. If you feel like controllers are so much better than keyboard and mouse, switch to controller. But you don't. Why? Because you don't want to learn how to play it on keyboard and mouse. You don't want to learn how to play a controller. And also, when you do switch to keyboard and mouse, or you do switch to controller, you get your ass beat. Then you switch, going back to the original input that you were on. And they continue to bitch and moan. Good players don't make excuses about inputs. Because they all have their own advantage. They all have their own positives, their own negatives. So stop with it. Stop with it. You sound silly. Like when I'm watching like streams, I see people in chat like talking about that kind of shit, or if I hear the streamer uses a complaint, I kind of shrug at it and kind of just decide to like mute their stream and go watch something else. I'm not here to watch someone freaking use excuses for why they lost their gunfight. Especially excuses that aren't even like an actual freaking valid excuse. Because there's always going to be advantage and disadvantage in any kind of format of video games. Just like IRL sports. In IRL sports, there's advantages and disadvantages to every aspect of sports. To every position. It's never balanced across the entire board in anything in life. But with all that said, it's time to play some Halo. So let's switch. Let's get into this Halo.